हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे W.B. Yeats की पोम द टावर के बारे में। W.B. Yeats के बारे में हम पहले एक वीडियो में डिस्कस कर चुके हैं, जिसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है। चलिए आज के वीडियो में हम द टावर के बारे में बात करते हैं। पोम को इन डेप्थ जानने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स। इट टॉक्स अबाउट एजिंग, juxtaposing the physical decline with the persistence of the creative spirit within. He wrote it during his matured period. It is a powerful poem that talks of his deteriorating physical health and his growing passions in political and personal matters. The title of the poem refers to the Belleville Castle, a Norman tower that Yeats purchased and restored in 1917. The tower sounds like a companion piece to Sailing to Byzantium, for the poet talks of old age and his view of an idle man. इसमें poet ने describe किया about the absurdity of becoming old. While he is getting weaker physically, he feels growing more passionate and inspired than ever. He is aware that it is time to say goodbye to poetry and choose reason to match his age. He walks to and fro atop the tower and remembers the wealthy Mrs. French, a legendary peasant girl and a character hand-run created by him. He also thinks of some people who could be cheered with neither love nor music. One such man is the former master of the poet's house. He also thinks of those who walked around the house dressed for war. The speaker is curious to know if the people he remembered so far too felt the same way as he feels now. Failing to get satisfactory answer, he inquires hand whether one thinks more often of a woman won or lost, for he thinks a woman lost is an irretrievable mistake. As he reaches the third section, his understanding of his age looks much more stable. The speaker vows to follow Grattan and Burke. He expresses his contempt for Plato and Plotinus, for he doesn't want to take any sides. He concludes by stating that he is ready to die with some ancient poetry and love for women. Also, he finds it to be the right time to prepare his body and his mind for death, either his own or those people he has loved. Section 1, line 1 to 18. What shall I do with this absurdity? O heart, O troubled heart, this caricature, decrepit age that has been tied to me as to a dog's tail. Never had I more excited, passionate, fantastical imagination, nor an eye that more expected the impossible. No, not in boyhood, when with rod and fly, or the humbler worm, I climbed Ben Bulbin's back and had the livelong summer day to spend. It seems that I must bid the muse to go back. Choose Plato and Plotinus for a friend, until imagination, ear and eye can be content with argument and deal in abstract things, or be derided by a sort of battered kettle at the heel. इस सेक्शन में पोएट ने अपनी डिससैटिस्फैक्शन बताई है विद ओल्ड एज. He uses a worried tone to present the contrast between his old body and his young spirit. His disappointment is revealed in an image where he compares old age to some annoying thing that is tied to a dog's tail. The poet feels his eyes and ears and his imagination and passions are stronger as ages pass. He finds them being stronger and emotion to ward off. He also feels in himself as if his time has come to bid adieu to poetry and read the masters Plato and Plotinus, otherwise he thinks his name will be dragged in the mire. Section 2, line 19 to 35. I pace upon the battlements and stare on the foundations of a house or where tree like a sooty finger starts from the earth and sends imagination forth under the day's declining beam and call images and memories from ruin or from ancient trees, for I would ask a question of them all. Beyond that ridge lived Mrs. French, and once, when every silver candlestick or sconce lit up the dark mahogany and the wine, a serving man that could divine that most respected lady's every wish, ran and with the garden shears clipped an insolent farmer's ear and brought them in a little covered dish. This is the longest and interesting part of the poem. It talks about the decreasing aristocratic ideal, which is also addressed by the poet in his other poems. A prayer for my daughter. As the section opens, the poet is pacing on the battlements of the tower, looking at the trees near and asks them about the ups and downs they have witnessed. At this time, he recalls the time when Mrs. French, who lived near the tower and was extremely aristocratic, that even before she could speak, her wish was granted by her devoted followers. Line 36 to 59. Some few remembered still, when I was young, a peasant girl, commended by a song, who would live somewhere upon that rocky place and praised the color of her face, and had the greater joy in praising her, remembering that if walked she there, farmers jostled at the fair. So great a glory did the song confer. And certain men, being maddened by those rhymes, or else by toasting her a score of times, rose from the table and declared it right to test their fancy by their sight. But they mistook the brightness of the moon for the prosaic light of day. Music had driven their wits astray, and one was drowned in the great bog of Clone. Strange, but the man who made the song was blind, yet now I have considered it, I find that nothing strange. The tragedy began with Homer, that was a blind man, and Helen has all living hearts betrayed. Oh, may the moon and sunlight seem one inextricable beam, for if I triumph, I must make men mad. The poet recalls a peasant girl he heard of at his young age. His name was Mary Highness, and her beauty was admired, and many sang songs. One of them is a blind poet named Raftery. In his songs, he glorified and said that if she goes to a fair, farmers at the fair would jostle to have a look at her. The people who read or heard of her beauty through his poems were made desperate to have a look at her. The poet is curious to see how a man blind himself could picture the beauty of a girl such vividly. But he is convinced when he thinks of Homer, who captured the beauty of Helen that became the cause for Mary to die. Line 60 to 75. And I myself created Hanrahan and drove him drunk or sober through the dawn from somewhere in the neighboring cottages, caught by an old man's juggleries. He stumbled, tumbled, fumbled to and fro, and had but broken knees for hire, and horrible splendor of desire. I thought it all out 20 years ago. Good fellows shuffled cards in an old barn, and when that ancient ruffian's turn was on, he so betwitched the cards under his thumb that all but the one card became a pack of hounds and not a pack of cards, and that he changed into a hare. Hanrahan rose in frenzy there and followed up those baying creatures towards. The poet talks of the character Hanrahan created by him. He made him a man, drunk or sober through the dawn, one to the horrible splendor of his desire. He stumbled, tumbled, fumbled, and broke his knees. He wrote about Hanrahan 25 years ago recalls how he who would have gone to meet his beloved marry Lavelle, his beloved is made to chase a magic hare by the old jugglery stick to delay his departure, and the triers make him chase the baying creatures. Line 76 to 107. What words I have forgotten what. Enough, I must recall a man that neither love, nor music, nor an enemy's clipped ear could he was so harried cheer, a figure that has grown so fabulous, there's not a neighbor left to say, when he finished his dog's day, an ancient bankrupt master of this house, before that ruin came for centuries, rough men at arms, cross gartered to the knees, or shod in iron climbed the narrow stairs, and certain men at arms there were, whose images in the great memory stored, come with loud cry and panting breast, to break upon a sleeper's rest, while their great wooden dice beat on the board. As I would question all, come all who can, come old necessitous, half-mounted man, and bring beauty's blind rambling celebrant. The red man the juggler sent through God-forsaken meadows, Mrs. French, gifted with so fine an ear, the man drowned in a bog's mire, when mocking muses chose the country wrench. Did all men and women, rich and poor, who trod upon these rocks or passed this door, whether in public or in secret rage, as I do now against old age, but I have found an answer in those eyes that are impatient to be gone. Go therefore, but leave handwritten, for I need all his mighty memories. The poet talks about the people who could be cheered neither with love, nor music, nor the pleasure of revenge. These people not only decay there, but also when they die unhappily. The poet gives an example of one such man who was once the owner of the tower which now belongs to the poet, as he thinks of the wonders if all the people he discussed earlier were also unhappy as the poet in their old age. Line 108 to 124. O lecher, with a love on every wind, bring up out of that deep considering mind all that you have discovered in the grave, for it is certain that you have reckoned up every unforeknown, unseeing plunge, lured by a softening eye or by a touch of a sigh into the labyrinth of another's being. Does the imagination dwell the most upon a woman won or woman lost? If on the lost, admit you turned aside from a great labyrinth out of pride, cowardice, some silly over subtle thought, or anything called conscience once, and that if memory recurred, the sun's under eclipse and the day blotted out. The poet questions the old lecher, Hannah Rehan, the character he created. He would like to ask, does the imaginist dwell the most upon a woman won or woman lost? As he questions him, he remembers his own hopeless love for Maud Gonne and realizes that imagination dwells most upon the woman lost. When the memory of the woman one could not get is revived, the day is blotted out. The poet concludes the section by saying that unrecruited love or the woman lost inspires strong passion. At the bottom of the loss, the reason is often either lack of courage or some silly over subtle thought. Section 3, line 125 to 199. It is time that I wrote my will. I choose upstanding men that climb the streams until the fountain leap, and at dawn drop their cast at the side of dripping stone. I declare they shall inherit my pride, the pride of people that were bound neither to cause nor to state, neither to slave that were spat on, not to the tyrants that spat, the people of Burick and of Grattan that gave, though free or to refuse, pride like that of the morn, when the headlong light is loose, or that of the fabulous horn, or that of a sudden shower, when all streams are dry, or that of the hour, when the swan must fix his eye upon a fading gleam, float out upon a long last reach of glittering stream, and there sing his last song, and I declare my fate. I mock Plotinus' thought, and cry in Plato's teeth. Death and life were not till man made up the whole, made lock, stock, and barrel out of his bitter soul, sun and moon and star and all. And further add to that, that being dead we rise, dream, and so create translunar paradise. I have prepared my peace with learned Italian things and the proud stones of Greece, poets' imaginings and memories of love, memories of the words of women, all these things whereof man makes a superhuman mirror resembling dream. As at the loophole there, the daws chatter and scream, and drop twigs layer upon layer. When they have mounted up, the mother bird will rest on their hollow top, and so warm her wild nest. I leave both faith and pride to young upstanding men, climbing the mountainside, that under bursting dawn they may drop a fly, being of that metal bait, till it was broken by the sedentary trade. Now shall I make my soul, compelling it to study in a learned school, till the wreck of body, slow decay of blood, testy delirium, or dull decrepitude, or that worse will come, the death of friends, or death of every brilliant eye that made a catch in the breath, seem but the clouds of the sky when the horizon fades, or a bird's sleepy cry among the deepening shades. It presents the transition of the poet's mind and the acceptance of old age. The short lines in this section indicate his calmer thoughts. He expresses his wish for writing his will, and the first thing he wants to bequeath in his pride to the young generation. He stands by the courageous people like Burke or Grattan who were not bound to any cause of the state. He also declares that he neither cares for Plotinus nor Plato, for he has nothing but contempt for them. The poet, like first of all things of the infinite power of the human mind, therefore Yeats decides to compromise with his age with things of art, memories of love, and poetic imaginings. पोएटिक डिवाइसेस स्ट्रक्चर जो पोम है वो 3 सेक्शंस में डिवाइडेड है ऑफ एन इक्वल लेंथ. Symbolism. Each star symbolizes many things including a home, a place of seclusion, a monument, a battlement, and a watchtower. Imagery. Yeats' work is rich with imagery including Leda and the Swan, Helen and the burning of Troy, the sun and the moon, burning house, and the unicorn and the phoenix. Rhetoric. Yeats' verse is often shaped into a stony and proud rhetoric. Themes. The poet's reaction to aging. The poem's main theme is the poet's response to his physical decline as he ages. The poet wonders if others who lived their lives in passion and love felt the same way. Disillusionment with the physical world. It shows Yeats' disillusionment with the imitations of the physical world. Withdrawal from ordinary life. The poet seeks to transcend the conflicts between the mind and body and thought and action. Helen of Troy metaphor. Yeats uses the Helen of Troy metaphor to describe Maud Gonne, an Irish nationalist who encouraged others to participate in revolutionary activity. Yeats बिलीव करते हैं उसका cyclic view of history led him to believe that images would recur and converge, becoming enriched and multiplied. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो पसंद आई। अगर अच्छी एंड इन्फॉर्मेटिव लगी तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माई चैनल। हमें कमेंट करके बताइए कि आप किस टॉपिक में वीडियो देखना चाहते हैं। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे।